What's up, everybody? Welcome to Coach's Corner. Today is Friday, August 1st, 2025. This is Alex coming to you live with my beautiful partner, Jaclyn. Jaclyn, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. A little tired, not a lot of sleep at night, getting ready for this baby coming our way. So, how are you feeling, though? Everybody wants to know how you're feeling.
I'm good. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Too ready. Very ready.
38 weeks. 2 more weeks. So, we'll see if he comes out a little early. But anyways, let's get this kicked off right. Today we're going to be talking about caffeine, cortisol, and crashes, fixing your energy naturally. So let's be honest. How many of you are running on caffeine, chaos, and whatever's left over from last night's sleep? Yeah, we've been there too. In fact, I'm there right now.
Yeah, it's a classic cycle. I've been there too, especially as a trainer. Waking up groggy a lot of times at like 4 a.m, right? Chugging coffee first thing, no food, no water, out the door, getting that short boost, flying, through my morning and then crashing by 2 o'clock. And then wondering why my brain kind of feels mushy and I'm in a brain fog.
Yeah. So the fix isn't more caffeine, guys. That just digs the hole deeper. Today, we're getting into the real reasons why your energy sucks. Let's be honest. And what actually to do about it.
Yeah, so in this episode, we're going to talk about trying to understand how our bodies work with us and not against us. So we'll talk about things like caffeine, cortisol, blood sugar, stress, sleep, and all the behind the scenes stuff that either builds your energy up or can drain it.
Yeah. This isn't a biohacker flex episode, okay? So you don't need some $400 red light panel or some Himalayan mushroom stuff just to feel better. What we're going to talk about is rhythm. You need real food, sunlight, sleep, everything we're about to go over, okay?
Yeah, and probably a little less coffee or caffeine afternoon or in the afternoon hours. But yeah, we'll get into it because energy is not really just about willpower, it's about regulation, and we can try to fix that with the right game plan.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about caffeine, guys. I'm gonna let Jaclyn start us off here because, truth be told, I'm pretty caffeine sensitive. I mean, I'm the type of guy where if I have a half a cup in the morning or a cup in the morning, sometimes I'm good to go. And Jaclyn can attest to this. I don't drink caffeine. I don't
He's
drink
not
sodas.
caffeinated.
I don't. My pre-workout, guys, if I take pre-workout, is a non-stimulant pre-workout. Yeah, so I'm running on no caffeine, but
He's just going through life normal.
I just white knuckle it, guys. I'm just one of the crazies. So yeah,
I'm not. I love caffeine. I've had times in my life, actually, a couple years ago, where I was like really dependent on it all day long. Energy drinks, everything. Now I am a cup of coffee a day kind of gal, and in this pregnancy, I cut it out almost completely because of heartburn, honestly. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about caffeine. There's some positives to caffeine. So cognitive performance, there's studies that show that it enhances alertness, attention, and memory speed. So it gives you mental like edge, right? And reduces tiredness. It can be helpful for athletic enhancement. So there was a 2019 study, it was a meta-analysis that found improvements in endurance, power, and reaction time when athletes used caffeine pre-workout. So it can reduce your perceived exertion, so you feel less tired while you're performing more. So mental benefits as well, and mood. So can be associated with a lower risk of depression, improved mood stability, because it increases dopamine levels and norepinephrine. And there's these really cool studies, I think these are really awesome, that it can potentially lower cancer risk and reduce Alzheimer's risk and Parkinson's. So a couple of studies I wanted to throw out there. So this one's from 2020, the effect of caffeine on the risk and progression of Parkinson's disease. It was a meta-analysis. So basically, it was shown that caffeine is associated with a lower risk of developing Parkinson's in healthy individuals and deceleration in the progression of its motor symptoms. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. Really
cool. It's not all negative because we're going to talk about how it can negatively impact you next. And then for Alzheimer's, Again, it was a 2021 study, consumption of coffee and tea and risk of developing stroke dementia and post-stroke dementia. This was a cohort study in the UK of people 50 to 74 years old. There was a little over 360,000 participants. Basically, they found that drinking coffee and tea, or in combination or separately, there was an association with a lower risk of stroke and dementia. So I thought those were kind of cool. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah,
Any
definitely.
positives?
There's a lot of enes out there, right? Like caffeine and what else? Nicotine and creatine, right? There's a morphine, right? There's so many enes and they have their place in the medical field. But they are doing more and more studies. We're not going to dive into it too much today, but on, let's say, creatine, for example, or even nicotine, right? By itself without the extras you get from usually the way it's ingested. But there's a lot of medical benefits that are coming out for these things. And I really encourage all of you to do your own research and start to look these things up, like creatine, caffeine, nicotine, and the actual cognitive benefits that they're finding in the study. So really, really cool stuff that's going on, guys. Definitely check it out. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll talk about some of the downsides next. So caffeine can be used as a tool, but it's not a solution. And sometimes it becomes a crutch, just like a lot of things in life, where we depend on it. You know what I mean? So caffeine's half-life is about 5 to 7 hours. Some say 4 to 6, some studies. So let's say, anywhere between 4 to 7 or so. Which means that if you're having coffee or caffeine at 2 p.m., it's still in your bloodstream around bedtime, possibly. And it can reduce your deep sleep, even if you fall asleep just fine. If you consume caffeine before your natural cortisol peak, which is around 8 or 10 a.m., shortly after you wake up, your body can become less efficient at generating energy on its own because it's disrupting cortisol levels. And then this is a big one too, tolerance and withdrawal, right? So daily users just become reliant on it, right? And we become tolerant, so we need more and it's less benefit. And we see this in a lot of things, and a lot of substances we can use in our life, and the withdrawals, which I've personally experienced. So when you try to quit, you get the classic crash, fatigue, headaches, brain fog, and so on. So the takeaway here is just to respect caffeine and know that it can be positive and negative, and don't rely on it. Use it to elevate it, and not just to survive.
Yeah. I think what's cool about it is again, it's like anything in life, moderation, and then it has its purpose. It serves its purpose. And it's like, yeah, for athletes looking to get that extra little boost for that day, or like for that competition or whatever, like a little bit of caffeine can definitely have that effect. Too much caffeine can have the opposite effect. But what's crazy about our bodies, right, is how well we adapt to things and how we create this tolerance. So you hear about the people that are having 2 scoops of pre-workout and 3 cups of coffee, and they need 5 cups of coffee throughout the day. And it's not like they're super jittery or like all like wired all the time. It's just their body have created that tolerance. So obviously it's about, like Jaclyn's saying, respect it. It is a drug, and to use it in an appropriate way that's beneficial, not so that it's not a need, it's more of a want for your body, right? Hey, I want an edge today, I'm going to use a little caffeine. Not that you need it to function, because that tolerance level is so high.
Yeah.
So let's
Balance.
balance, all about balance, feng shui. Let's talk about cortisol, the rhythm versus dysfunction. Okay, so cortisol is your body's natural energy hormone. It's also associated with stress. We'll talk about that. It's not the enemy, it's the rhythm keeper. Okay, so it is necessary. Jaclyn was talking about how cortisol spikes when you wake up in the morning, and then 45 minutes to an hour later, your cortisol spike. That's to get you active and ready going for your day. So let's talk about a normal cortisol curve here. Your wake up spike. Your cortisol should spike 30 to 45 minutes after waking. Okay, this was a study done in 2010. That's your go switch for the day. This is generalized and depends on other factors, obviously, like sleep, stress, and who you are personally as well. But let's say averages, right? Should spike about 30, 45 minutes. A gradual decline. It should taper off toward evening so melatonin can rise. That's your natural cycle. Okay, so you wake, cortisol spikes, you are getting ready, tired later in the day, melatonin's on the rise, you're getting ready to sleep. Let's talk about dysfunction. This is blunted, flatter, or inverted curve. So higher at night and lower in the day, more. This is rare, but this is a burnout, right? This is PTSD. This is overtraining. Your cortisol rhythms flattens or even reverses. Okay, so you feel tired in the morning and wired at night. Guys, I have been there. I know what that's like. I know what's burnout's like. I know what PTSD is like. Definitely have been there myself. Okay, so you ever have it where you're like, dude, you're dragging your ass through the day and you're struggling to get by. Then all of a sudden you feel like you should be exhausted. It's such a long day and it's nighttime and all of a sudden you can't sleep. Your mind is racing and all that. That could be that reversal. And I've been there. So it's not that rare as we could see. So the key again would be the regular curve. We have a nice little diagram that Jaclyn made here. If you guys were looking what I'm looking, basically in the morning, you're going to wake up. It's going to spike in the morning and it's going to start to lower during the midday, where the evening it's going to be taper off. And an irregular curve is it spikes in the morning and it stays spiked, right? And that could be because of the different things like caffeine and other stuff we use to stay stimulated throughout the day. Here's an irregular curve where, let's say a normal curve, again, spikes in the morning, it's going to taper off midday. How about it's low in the morning, never really spikes. And then as midday, it starts to rise. And then as we get closer to the evening, it's at its peak. Okay, so that's an irregular curve. That's a high baseline cortisol. Chronically high cortisol is catabolic. It breaks down muscle tissue, increases insulin resistance. The higher blood sugar drops and cravings, right? So think higher blood sugar, drops and cravings, and promotes visceral fat storage. Cortisol is no joke. It's no joke. It's a necessity, but gosh, guys, we need to keep it under control. So when you guys think of visceral fat, basically think of body fat, belly fat. It's really the internal fat around your organs, which is, there's a lot of studies on that, guys, how that's not good. Everyone talks about insulin resistance and this kind of stuff, but visceral fat's really what you want to watch out for. Okay. So, triggers that wreck it. Okay. So these are things that, if your energy's wrecked, look here first. What are you doing that's frying your nervous system? Okay. So these are some of the things that we could be looking at. Poor sleep hygiene. Okay. So we'll discuss this later on. We'll dive into it a little bit further. Fasting with high training volume. Okay. So if you're fasting, or you're in an extreme calorie deficit, as well as hitting it hard, you're going to spike your cortisol, guys. Stimulants on an empty stomach. Hey, imagine that. You wake up first thing in the morning, you grab a cup of coffee, no water, nothing to eat. First thing you put into your body is coffee. That's a stimulant on an empty stomach, can really spike your cortisol. Emotional or job related stress. We've been there.
We'll talk about
We've
stress
all been there. Oh my
later
goodness.
too.
Yeah. Talk about stress, having a baby. Baby's on the way. Got to get everything right. But yeah, guys, that's life. That's part of life. How do we control that stress, and how do we get through it? And then let's talk about skipping meals or under eating. I'm not against skipping meals. I'm not against fasting. Under eating, damaging our metabolism is definitely what a lot of people do. We have other episodes that we talk about that, reverse dieting and things as such, to get your metabolism back up to speed. It's funny, as a lot of people, let's say the quote unquote skinny fat out there, they barely eat. Like, I can't lose any weight. I keep gaining weight, and they're like, dude, I'm only eating 1,400 calories a day. Why am I not losing weight? And the truth is, they've wrecked their metabolism by under eating, and your cortisol spiked. So you're holding on to all your fat, So yeah, anyways, so you don't fix this with a nap or another coffee, guys. You fix it with rhythm. It's about resetting your rhythmic patterns. Okay. So, let's let Jaclyn talk about blood sugar and energy crashes.
Yeah, so when thinking of energy, other than, caffeine and cortisol, let's talk about our blood sugar, because it could be what we're eating or what we're not eating that is impacting our energy levels. So, bottom line, and I think many of us know this, glucose is brain fuel. When our blood sugar spikes and it drops, though, it can trigger a crash that can lead to fatigue, irritability, and cravings, especially if you have those high rises and those big drops as well. So think about eating things like that are simple carbs, cereal, toast, sweet coffee drinks, soda, stuff like that, where you get that fast spike and fast crash. You might feel good for about 30 minutes and then tank right after that. So instead, better things. You know, and we talk about macronutrients quite a bit. And we have on this podcast, but like protein, fat, making sure to have balanced macronutrients, and fiber for that stable energy. They slow digestion. They can flatten those blood sugar curves and really could sustain cognitive function for ourselves and our mood. So, um, yeah, some evidence of this. Um, cortisol rising to maintain blood sugar. So during crashes, that can further stress our system out. And there are some studies that show that lower protein breakfasts increase cortisol levels and reduce satiety as well.
I think lower protein in general, not just breakfast.
Yeah.
I think also, honestly, it's just we're all about that, increase in protein and maintaining muscle mass and
Yeah, spreading it out throughout the day.
spreading it out throughout the day. So I think just lower protein in general can result in higher cortisol.
Yeah, I mean, skipping breakfast though, for some, not all people, right? I've been turned on to this, eating breakfast because of how it impacted my own life. For many, many years, I didn't eat breakfast. I ran on coffee, and as a trainer, wouldn't really eat till like 10 or 11 o'clock. And I actually hired a dietitian to help me out, and like she was like, I don't care if it's 4 in the morning. If you can't stomach anything, you need to eat some rice cereal with like protein powder in it. You know what I mean? And it really helped me. So now I eat breakfast, but
To each their own.
yeah,
It's like each person's going to have to find what works for them.
definitely.
I'm not a big component of breakfast, but like, again, just depends on what I'm training for, what my current body's like, if I'm in a bulk, if I'm in a deficit, all this kind of stuff. But I'm not opposed to like fasting until like, usually I eat my lunch around like 10:30 or 11 a.m.
Yeah.
But yeah, to each their own, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely beneficial.
And we're not getting into it in this episode, but I think it's good to note the differences between men and women as well, and
Yeah.
how our bodies function.
Yeah.
So that's something we won't really dive into, but like there are definitely some differences there in regard to when people may or may not eat, or why they may or may not fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, some fixes.
Yeah.
Eating, possibly within 60 minutes of waking. Aiming for 20 to 30 grams of protein, throughout the day at meals, kind of spreading it out throughout the day. And then
I just want to add on that. So like 20 to 30 grams, depending
meal.
on your diet, right? So like, or like your calorie intake and let's say this, depending on what your target weight is in pounds. And we're going to do this in pounds, not in kilograms. Sorry for our listeners in every other country besides the US.
Are you going to calculate?
No, I'm not going to calculate. I'm just going to say, if your target weight, hey man, I want to weigh 190 pounds, you should be aiming for approximately 190 grams of protein.
Ish, yeah.
Throughout the day. So if that looks like 3 meals, 4 meals, or 5 meals, it needs to be spread across those 3, 4, 5 meals. Protein being the primary source that you're looking for. So you're going to eat your protein first, then you can have your veggies, for carbs or whatnot, your fats to satiate after you've completed eating your proteins, right? So, but again, aim for 20 to 30. That's a good standard.
Even
for
40, yeah. I will go for sometimes.
I can go for 50.
You can, but you're a large man.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's just like I said, 1 gram, 1 gram of protein per targeted pound of body weight.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, like Alex just said, protein at every meal, building each meal around protein and fiber, which is something I really stress to all my nutrition clients, and then going from there. And again, this may be something that Alex has a difference of opinion a bit, but not training fasted if we're already depleted or struggling with crashes, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If you're already depleted, you're already struggling. I'm all about discomfort, live in discomfort, push yourself to the limit, push your limits, right? It's just, that's where growth happens. However, be smart about it, right? So like if you're already burnt out, crashed, you're struggling, don't be training fasted. It's just not, it's not going to help you out. It's just going to spike your cortisol even worse. So yeah, I mean, obviously you gotta read your own body. And part of this is, there's people like us that talk and we have these suggestions, but ultimately guys, if you're listening to this, it comes down to you, and you need to figure yourself out. Take the advice of us, take the advice of all these other experts out there that they're telling you, all this mixed, eat this, don't eat this. sleep this much, don't sleep, train fasted, don't train fasted. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself, what works best for you. We can only suggest these things if you're dealing with this kind of stress cortisol inhibitor, right?
Yeah.
So anyways,
Let's talk about solutions.
yeah, enough with like all this. We're going to get into the fix. The fix, natural energy regulation blueprint. Okay. Here are strategies to increase energy naturally. Cortisol first strategy. Get sunlight. First thing, sunlight activates serotonin and signals a healthy cortisol awakening response. I loved hearing this podcast. I think it was a Huberman podcast when I first heard this. I can't remember. It was all about like your rhythmic cycles, and like first thing you should do when you wake up in the morning is go look outside. Go outside, get some sunlight, go look out the window, natural sunlight, not TV. And that's going to automatically start to spike that cortisol. So you end up on that proper curve. It's going to be that awakening response, right? That the serotonin that you're getting. I would delay coffee. Personally, I don't drink coffee, right? I'm a crazy person. But anyways, I don't drink coffee, guys. So like I say delay it. But when I do, I definitely wake up first thing in the morning. I usually have some electrolytes. I have my big glass of water. For me personally, I take my hypothyroid medication, Synthroid, very first thing in the morning. Let that settle for like 60 minutes, 30 to 60 minutes before ingesting anything else. So for me, it's really easy. If I do have a cup of coffee, it's easily 60 to 90 minutes after waking. But if you're that type of person that goes right for the dark black
Sludge.
first thing in the
Bean
morning,
water.
bean water. Definitely want to take a break, guys, and like have water first, have some salts, have some electrolytes. Give yourself 60 to 90 minutes before having coffee, right? So
yeah. I drink a glass of water first. I don't go the whole 60 to 90 minutes all the time.
yeah.
I'm pretty back to back, but I make sure to hydrate first.
Yeah, that's true. I always get you your little glass of water with your magnesium and your creatine.
Yeah,
and-
I have magnesium in the morning, which is not what most people do, but I like it in the morning.
yeah,
So.
works for you. Cool. And the other thing, guys, add movement in the first hour. Zone 2 walk, breath work, band mobility. It's just a move signal to awaken, right? So like doing some mobility, whatever it is, add a little bit of movement first thing in the morning. All right, so let's talk about fueling the engine now. 30 grams of protein plus 20 grams of carb in your first meal, like minimum 30 grams of protein, I guess, guys. The base, again, depend that 1 pound of gram per body weight.
This is variable.
But I think starting off in the morning, 30 grams of protein, 20 grams of carbs is really going to help you. Sea salt in your water, adrenaline mineral support, okay? So sea salt, you heard of people doing baking soda. I mean, again, we're not... Don't go out there and just put a bunch of baking soda in your water, guys. Don't want you guys getting toxic. You never heard of baking soda? Oh wow, that's a good.
I had baking soda shots for heartburn.
Yeah,
when I was pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, again, we don't get in trouble by anybody going like, "Oh, they said to drink baking soda." Like, dude, like, do your research, look it up. But like, again, sea salt. There's so many different like electrolyte companies out there now. It doesn't have to be in every single, water that you intake, but having some sort of mineral water is really key for your system. In fact, if you have too much water depleted of minerals, you start to wash out or really suck out the minerals that you have in your body because the water's looking for that. So it can have an adverse effect. So
that's a whole nother episode to talk about. I actually talked to my nutrition group about hydration today and we talked about that.
So it's all about fueling your engine properly, right? And the last thing we're going to say is creatine and electrolytes for cognitive function and hydration. Do some research on this, guys. I'm not going to deep dive. I could talk about creatine all day and the benefits. 5 grams a day should be just about right for everybody, but they are doing more studies where 10 grams, even 20 plus grams a day, especially in patients with Alzheimer's and the elderly population, having huge cognitive benefits, really showing real potential for... So it's a miracle.
I know. I've been reading some of that, and it's exciting stuff. There was just a study released a couple weeks ago about creatine not impacting no contraindications during pregnancy. There was a study in Australia, which made me happy to hear. I don't know the details, but I just thought it was kind of cool because we're studying it so much more and its benefits.
Yeah, there's a lot of myths around creatine too and stuff. So like we'll have our own episode on all that. But anyways, yeah, creatine electrolytes, really great. All right. So fuel your engine, right? Give yourself the proper fuel you need so that you're not constantly burnt out or stressed. Nervous system recovery tools would be magnesium, calms the CNS. Okay. This was a study done by Boyle in 2017. Magnesium. We'll talk about, again, we can dive into these things, but we have different types of magnesium that are available to you. So yeah, definitely there's usually I'd say a standard mix, right? Is always good. There's like different types. But anyways,
Citrate is what I use.
yeah, magnesium citrate. L-theanine, right? There's another one that helps with your nervous system, smooth caffeine effects, improves focus. This was a study done in 2010 by Kimura. Okay. Let's go into part 2. Sleep and stress, the two forces you're ignoring. So go ahead, Jaclyn. You could talk about sleep and stress.
Yeah, basically, if we want better energy, really, we should be looking at better sleep and a more regulated nervous system. As some of the root causes, in my opinion, everything else is just, managing symptoms outside of that. So, sleep is really a time when our body can repair our muscles, balances hormones, clears mental fatigue, and then missing this window consistently can really impact our body negatively and our energy. So it's the purpose of sleep is to really protect us. So ideally, 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep for adults is what's been recommended. This is a study from 2015 that we're pulling from for optimal cortisol and glucose regulation.
Yeah.
And chronic sleep restriction under 6 hours leads to increased ghrelin, which, it impacts our hunger, leptin as well, which has to do with how full we feel, and elevated cortisol as well. And REM and deep sleep are especially vital for mood regulation. I think anytime I am deprived of sleep, I'm definitely moodier.
Yeah.
So
Well, you could get 8 hours and not fall into that REM cycles as well. Like you could feel super exhausted even with
yeah,
8 hours of sleep. It's all about hitting that deep sleep, right? You could have unsettling sleep. There's been so many studies done on sleep, guys. Like, but overall consensus is 7 to 9 hours, right? Is really beneficial
can.
if you can, right? And we know that as adults in life, it's not always possible, kids, whatnot, but really try to hit that. Okay, try to get to bed earlier. And if you have to wake up at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, be in bed by 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I know that sounds wild, but like,
He used to call me a grandma.
oh yeah, I still do. Anyways,
Like I like to go to bed early.
yeah, I mean, there's certain professions where we get used to running on minimal sleep, but honestly, guys, there's so many studies done that 7 to 9 hours, how crucial it is. So even if you're like ex-military, a veteran, or any type of law enforcement, any type of grind out there where you're like, dude, you got used to running on 4 or 5 hours a night. It's just the standard, like that's not necessarily healthy for everyone, right? There are the outliers, I guess, that are just crazy and they can just operate that way. But for majority of us, it's going to be 7 to 9 hours. So
Yeah. So some sleep hygiene strategies. If we can have consistent sleep and wake times, even on the weekends, have that routine. Blocking blue light 1 to 2 hours before bed, being in a cool, dark room, limiting caffeine in the afternoons, and avoiding heavy meals or intense workouts, in an hour and a half before sleep. So next, we're going to talk about stress. Alex is going to take it from here.
all right, so let's talk about stress here. Your body can't distinguish between work email as a toxic relationship or a near car crash. It just sees stress and it responds the same way to every time. Cortisol, adrenaline, and system-wide inflammation. Okay, so the key science behind this would be chronic stress that leads to sympathetic dominance, keeping you in a fight or flight state that never lets you fully recover. Okay, this also impairs mitochondrial function, making your cells less efficient at producing ATP. That's your energy currency, right? We talked about ATP before. Long-term stress deregulates the gut-brain axis, impacting nutrient absorption and hormone signaling. Okay, so stress is, oh man, it's one of those things, guys. It's a silent killer. It's an old saying they used to say, but stress is really a silent killer. Elevated, like there's so many, it wrecks your body. It just really does, right? So like we live in this, especially in the Western world, I can say, this high stressful dog eat dog rat race society, and capitalism at its finest, where may the best man win or best person win. And it's crazy. I'm not saying it's there's drawbacks to it, right? Obviously, like the stress that it creates, there's also great benefits to that, right? I'm not knocking what we have going as the human race and our advancement into the future, but when it comes down to it, you got to find a way to de-stress, okay? Especially in this crazy society that we live in. So, stress is the silent killer. It really is, man. It can really take its toll on your body. So, this chronic stress leads to so many ailments in the human body. Okay, so many. So, really try to find a way to de-stress. And a lot of that times we find that through health and fitness, right? And being our health, being our nutrition, our daily lifestyle, our habits, and fitness being, when we get out and move. No matter what kind of movement it is. That's a lot of us. We find that our stress relief. So don't take it lightly. Do not take it lightly. There are some practical tools that you guys can use on the day-to-day, like breath work, box breathing to shift into a parasympathetic mode. You can go on walks without your phone, especially outside. Mental decompression and cortisol reduction. 5 to 10 minutes of daily stillness, journaling, meditation, prayer, whatever that looks like for you, okay? Listen to your favorite music. There's a lot of ways that we can really try to de-stress, okay?
I feel like,
Yeah. Huh?
oh, nothing. The favorite music.
Oh, I listen to my favorite music all day.
I know.
I'm
It
Spotify's
gives me.
I'm Spotify's favorite client. I'm the best. I'm Spotify's best customer, man. I love music. Music is life.
So yeah, when we control our stress, we're able to better control our output and our energy, our mood, our hunger, our sleep, all these things, right? So, lastly today, what we're going to talk about is if you want to reduce or quit caffeine, what that looks like. I did it recently, kind of ish. A lot. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I reduced it. Tapering is a good way to go on this. Cold turkey is hard. I've done it myself. There are withdrawals. I definitely experienced caffeine withdrawals. So, generally speaking, most studies say up to 400 milligrams is safe. But if quitting or cutting back, like just evaluating how much are you actually consuming? Some things that I've done, I've dropped the afternoon energy drink, or if you're doing coffee in the afternoon, I drop that first. And then do a 1 to 2 week check-in and reset every 6 to 8 weeks, seeing, is my consumption going up and so on and so forth. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Cool. Cycle based on your training, right? So save high doses for PRs, long runs, or skill days. Kind of like I said, it should be a want and not a need. If you want to have, if you have a day coming up with, you're going for, a PR, personal record here. Yeah, by all means, go for it. Get a little extra stimulated behind the seat, take your seatbelt off, drive wild, go for it.
don't drive without a seatbelt.
But
He's joking.
like I said, go for it, guys. Caffeine should be a want, not a need, right? So, and reduce use during deloads or off weeks, right? So you don't need to use it at all. You should not need caffeine every single day to get through the day. Bottom line, you don't want to become dependent on it. Consider caffeine and L-theanine stack to reduce anxiety, improve performance consistency. I like this too. For those of you guys, like, you love your morning cup of coffee, you love your coffee, whatever. Nothing wrong with that, right? I'm a person that you should not be dependent on anything, right? That's the way I look at life. You really shouldn't be. It's hard. Sometimes it's a battle. I've been dependent on different substances throughout my life that I had to work hard to not become dependent on, right? So that's just my outlook on it, guys. But if you are that, hey man, this is my everyday routine, consider stacking some L-theanine in there, because it is going to reduce anxiety and it'll help, that cortisol crash, right? So or spike rather, really. So yeah, energy isn't found, it's built, guys. If your energy sucks, it's not about discipline, it's about regulation. You can't out caffeine a broken rhythm. Okay. So again, we talked all about the different ways that you can find new ways to find your rhythm, morning sunlight, afternoon walks, music, less caffeine, so many different little, tips in this little episode here.
Your
So
food intake and how you consume food as well, and sleep strategies.
yeah,
So
cool. All right, guys. Well, really appreciate you guys listening in today. Your body doesn't want to be tired. It's just missing the input it needs. So start anchoring your morning, stabilizing your meals, and respecting recovery. Your energy will come back. This is Alex and Jaclyn wishing you guys a great weekend. It is Friday after all. We really appreciate you guys listening in. Appreciate you being part of the Ignite Fitness family. And this is Alex and Jaclyn signing off. Thank you.